Mets win 5-1 over the Chicago White Sox, and they win 3 games in a row. Something that I didn't think was really ever going to be possible. Again, granted, they have won now 9 of their last 13, which puts me in an awkward spot as a fan of this team that has been talking about how I want them to blow it up and I want them to sell and I want them to strip it down, tank, you name it. I've been bashing them for playing bad. Granted, this is the Chicago White Sox. I'm not ready to bring out the pom poms and celebrate them beating the Chicago White Sox back to back games and winning a series. If they sweep the White Sox, that would be nice because of the fact that it's about time that they take advantage of a bad baseball team. Granted, again, these wins haven't necessarily been impressive. I'm more impressed with this win certainly than yesterday. The offense did not impress me and wow me enough tonight, but they got the job done. But the pitching, I mean, forget about it. This is what we thought we were getting from Justin Verlander all season long, and this is what we wanted from Justin Verlander all season long. And this is the type of production that we need from him going into next season if this team wants a chance at contending, because I still feel they're dead this year. I don't feel there's any sort of chance of them digging themselves out of the hole they created. 9 of the last 13 is great, but that June just completely derailed the season. And quite frankly, like I keep saying, is this baseball good enough for them to even do damage if they make the postseason? I don't see it myself, but that's just me. We're going to talk about the game. Leave a like if you do enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next on the channel. But let's talk about this baseball game. Top of the first, nice 1-2-3 inning for Justin Verlander. Benintendi lines out, and then strikeouts from Anderson and Robert. Nice to see Verlander get 2 Ks to kick off his outing. Bottom of the first, Nimmo flies out. Tommy Pham with a walk. Lindor strikes out, and then Alonso hits into a force out. That's the end of the inning. Top of the second, Verlander with another 1-2-3 inning, striking out Berger and then getting back-to-back pop-outs. Mets would go down in order, though, in the bottom of the second from McNeil, Alvarez, and Vogelback. Top of the third, Perez lines out, and then Brett Baty makes a very nice play over at third base after we've been bashing on him here, especially on this channel. He's been heating up, which we'll talk about a bit more later. But yeah, he makes a nice throw over the first base to get Colas out, and then Andrews flies out. And then the bottom of the third, Brett Baty does it on the offensive side of things too, as he hits himself a home run to center field. So Brett Baty's all of a sudden starting to heat up, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it, absolutely. Why? Because of the fact that I freaking want the kid to succeed, and because especially all the fans, for whatever reason, after 1-2 bad weeks, calling him a bust, which, listen, I know I can be crazy and very critical of this team, but to call a, 22, 23-year-old kid a bust for a little bit of a rough stretch, come on. That's just absurd to me. Even that, with me being very critical of this baseball team, even that's a little too far for me. And he's starting to heat up. And if the Mets do want to find a way to crawl into the playoffs and they do want a chance, Brett Baty is going to have to be one of those guys to heat up. He's quite frankly one of the most important pieces to this team. They don't have a lot of help at third base otherwise. Because what are you going to do? Trade prospects and get Nolan Arenado? Where's Brett Baty going to play then? Is he part of the package? I wouldn't be a fan of that. Why get older? I want to see Brett Baty heat up. I want to see him contribute to this team, and I want to see what he could do. I'm here for it. I'm here for the Brett Baty show, no matter if people are giving up on him, no matter if people still believe he's a bust, people don't think he's going to be a superstar. I have confidence in Baty, and he's showing it. And I think that it's unfair that we judged him on a couple rough weeks of baseball. He's still one of the better offensive producers on this team, hitting 239, 672 OPS. Since I'm more of an OPS guy myself. 305 on base. You'd like to see him get on base more. But, I mean, still, he's not performing that bad, albeit you with the way fans are attacking him, you would think he's hitting like 180, like he'd be hitting a $180 with like a 500 OPS, something like that, with the way that the fans go after him. I get that he hasn't been the sharpest defensively, but I mean, with the bat, he has all the potential in the world. He does, and I want them to see it through. As much as people want them to go after the big names and go after like a Nolan Arenado, I'm fully in on Brett Baty, and this team needs youth. They do, and Brett Baty needs to get all the trust in the world. That's my little tangent on Brett Baty, though. We'll move on. Guillorme then strikes out in the bottom of the third. Nimmo grounds out. Pham with a walk. Lindor flies out. Top of the fourth, Benintendi with a single. Anderson lines out. Benintendi would end up stealing second. And then Robert would strike out. Berger pops out. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Alonso would walk. McNeil gets hit by a pitch. And Francisco Alvarez, speaking of the rookie phenoms and the young bucks on this team, Francisco Alvarez has just been special to watch as he hits that one to right. Just a perfectly placed ball there as it just gets by the second baseman. And Pete Alonso would score. McNeil goes to third. That makes it a 2-0 ball game. I'm here for these two thriving. I'm here for it, and I'm here for the youth movement with this team. Vogelbach then would walk. Brett Baty would ground into a force out, but thankfully that would end up bringing the run in. So that would make it 3-0. Guillorme then hits what you thought was going to be a hit, but ends up being a sacrifice fly. But we will take it as that makes it 4-0. And then Brandon Nimmo hits a nice ball over down the left field line, or not down the line, but he hits it in the left field, and that ends up being a double to make it 5-0 as Brett Baty comes across the plate. Pham would ground out, but the Mets make it 5-0. Unfortunately, they didn't do much else offensively besides that inning, which is where my gripe is with this, especially with the way that the White Sox are as a baseball team. They're just not good, but I'll take it. I guess. Grandal and Sheets would strike out back-to-back. Perez then ends up popping out. Bottom of the fifth, the Mets go down in order. The White Sox would go down in order in the top of the sixth. Bottom of the sixth, Alvarez would strike out Vogelbach with a single. And then Toussaint ends up throwing a wild pitch. Vogelbach goes to second. Baty would ground out. Guillorme would fly out. We go to the top of the seventh. Anderson would ground out, but then Luis Robert would crush one to left to make it a 5-1 ball game. And I honestly got worried at that point. I thought that this was going to end up being trouble, and I thought that this was going to be the roadblock and the Mets winning this game. They couldn't use Brooks Raley. Robertson probably wasn't available. I mean, he probably would have pitched in this game if he was. So Robertson wasn't available, and they didn't have the high leverage guys. And the second I saw them go to the bullpen cam and saw Dominic Leone warming up, I was praying to the heavens that Verlander would get out of this inning, because I refuse to watch Dominic Leone come into this game after Berger walks, especially. Grandal pops out, but then Sheets with a single. All of a sudden, it's first and second, and I'm shaking over there. I'm shaking. I'm nervous, and I see Leone warming up, but thankfully Verlander strikes out Perez. Beautiful pitch to close it out there. I think he got him on the slider, and that ends the inning after a 30-pitch inning. And you love the broadcaster jinx because they're talking about his pitch count being low, and then he throws 30 that inning. I digress. Jesse Schultz then comes in. Nimmo flies out. Pham grounds out. Lindor with a walk, and then Alonso flies out. Top of the eighth, Verlander has a nice, easy 1-2-3 inning. He's offered to go back out there for the ninth, but he politely declines. McNeil flies out in the eighth. Alvarez with a single, but then Vogelbach hits into a double play. Adam Ottavino comes in, gets 3 groundouts to end the ball game. The Mets win it. Verlander is the winning pitcher. The losing pitcher is Toussaint. So 5 hits for the Mets, 3 for the White Sox, and again, I'd like to see the Mets produce more than me being able to count on one hand in hits, and produce outside of the 5th inning. I would have liked a little more production. It was cool and all to have the Baty home run, and then obviously the explosion in the 5th inning, but you got to capitalize on this White Sox team. You just do. I mean, Toussaint and Schultz are not names that you should be scared of. I know they got 5 off Toussaint, but I mean, Schultz is one of the better arms, I guess. At least his ERA looks good. I don't really know. I'd have to do a deep dive, but the last thing I want to do is waste time doing a deep dive on Jesse Schultz, on like his FIP and everything. But regardless, I mean, this is a good win when it comes to the sake of the pitching side. Justin Verlander desperately needed the start. And hey, is he trying to boost his trade value? Because I'm here for that too. If the Mets are going to look to trade him and he wants to get traded, good job, buddy. Good job. Help us out in the trade market. Help us get some prospects back potentially. I'm absolutely here for that. He pitched a very good game. 8 innings of work, 3 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 Ks. Very good start for Justin Verlander. Very good start. And I like the way that he used his pitch arsenal too. I did. I felt he was more balanced in this start than he's been in previous starts with his pitches. He was using the curveball and slider more, where like my biggest gripe with Verlander is the fact that I felt he was over relying on his four seam in the past few starts, and it was part of the problem. And he's using more of the breaking ball stuff, and it's helping. I think he needs to start doing it more. I'm no pitching coach. I'm no expert on pitching. I'm not going to claim I'm an expert on this, but I'm just a freaking jerk off making YouTube videos covering this team, ranting 90% of the time. But hey, I think that that's what needs to happen with Justin Verlander, and I think it would make him be more successful more times than not. And a lot of the Mets season is a lot of the reason, I should say, I can't talk for some reason. A lot of the reason why the Mets are where they are is because Verlander and Scherzer have not been good enough. Verlander turns it around. That would help the Mets if they want to make a postseason push somehow still this year, which I, again, cannot imagine. I still think they're better off selling. I just hope that they don't get blinded by winning a couple of games against the Chicago White Sox. You know, like if they beat the Red Sox, even the Yankees, though, like that, those aren't good enough wins for me. Like the Yankees are in such a bad spot right now without Aaron Judge, and they are just a dumpster fire right now, the Yankees. The Yankees are in a downward spiral. Those wins don't impress me. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared that the Mets were going to become buyers after this stretch, because they have the White Sox, the Red Sox, who will be a bit of a tougher team, but I could still maybe see the Mets squeaking out a series win there, at least getting 1 or 2. And then what? They sweep the Yankees and win 3 out of 4, sweep the Nationals. Are we convinced enough that the Mets are back? Which, if they did do that, hypothetically, they beat the White Sox tomorrow. They win 1 out of 3 against Boston. That would put them at what? So their current record is 45-50. So that would be 47-52. They beat the Yankees twice. That would make them 49-52. They beat the Nationals 3 out of 4 times. I'm trying to be more realistic here. Which, realistic, if I was, maybe they would split with the Yankees. But regardless, the Yankees are in such a downward spiral that I could see them sweeping them. Not that the Mets are any better. I'm just saying, though, the Yankees are just that bad right now that, oof, maroon. Unless Garrett Cole's pitching one of the games, that might be a different story. Like, he's one of the only bright spots of the Yankees at this point. But, where was I? 49-52. So that would be, what? They'd be 52-53. So they're not even 500 if they were to go that path. It would really take them sweeping the White Sox here, completing that tomorrow with Quintana on the bump, I want to say, making his Mets debut. Is it Jose Quintana making his Mets debut tomorrow? Let me take a look at that. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked from the game completely. Yeah, Quintana, who knows how that's going to go. He's a wild card. Kopech isn't anything great, but you never know. Then the Mets go to Boston. They have Senga versus Paxton. You have Scherzer versus, who is this? Cutter Crawford. And then Carrasco versus, it's a to be determined game or to be announced. So you'd have to realistically sweep the White Sox and Red Sox. And then like they'd have to just go on a huge win streak. What would it be if they hypothetically won up all their games up until the trade deadline? It would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It would be a 13-game win streak. And even then, that doesn't even guarantee you to be in a good enough spot to make the playoffs. Like, I'm just worried that if they do that, they're going to be overconfident and be cocky and just overbuy at the deadline. That's one of my biggest fears, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Uh, if they could find a way to make the playoffs, I obviously would be happy because I want to see my team thrive and I want to see them in the playoffs. But I'm just worried at the same time. Is this team good enough to do damage in the playoffs? And like, there's just too many holes for me, right? Because Jeff McNeil has not been good enough. You have a hole pretty much there at second base. Marte has not been good. You have a hole in right field. You have a hole. I wouldn't say you have a hole in left field. Pham and Canna could get you by. You have a hole at DH. Catcher, you're fine. Maybe they want to get a third baseman. That's a maybe. And then you have to get bullpen help. To me, that's too many holes. But obviously, they could kill two birds with one stone if they did do the Ohtani move. But listen, I'm not an advocate for trading assets for Ohtani. That's just my opinion, and I know people will disagree, but it is what it is. And then, like I said with the game, though, to get back there, or I shouldn't say like I said, I wasn't saying anything really about the game. I got sidetracked completely. Just wanted to talk, though, about that. But Ottavino, good in his inning of work. And then when it comes to the lineup, Alvarez was the only guy that got multiple hits in this game. Still too many 0-4s, which concerns me. The fact that Pham went 0-4, but he got 2 walks is fine. But Lindor 0-3, I mean, that strikeout, that one strikeout he had was very, very ugly, especially that last pitch swinging. I don't know what he was doing, but Alonso going 0-3 with a walk. McNeil 0-3. He's just not been good enough. I mean, the middle of the order has just been abysmal. At least Nimmo went 1-4 with an RBI. But again, I'd like to see him have a multi-hit game. Alvarez has just been very good. There's no two ways around it. Vogelback 1-3 with a walk. You take it, I guess. Brett Beatty 1-3. But that defense and that home run, huge for this team. And I'm absolutely here for it. So, love that. And then 0-2 for Luis Guillorme with the sacrifice fly and a strikeout. 1-5 with runners in scoring position. 5 left on total. I mean, the offense just isn't exploding enough. That's my only issue. But again, I mean, I don't know. I'm not moved by wins by the White Sox. They have to do more, but I will say, at least this has been better than June, I guess, right? I don't know. I'm trying to reach here a bit, but this win streak has not really been all too impressive. This was probably the most impressive win of the win streak. But that's going to be it for me. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans. Turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next. And I'll see you guys in the next one.